Hello guys and welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm here with My Hero Academia, the final season, episode number 10 reaction. Okay, the previous episode we got to see what happened to the world after All for One's and things are little by little kind of going towards normalcy. People are rebuilding places, like different heroes from different parts of the world are coming and helping. All those things are happening, and like the classes have resumed, like Deku and everyone else are back. Aoyama decided to leave the school because even though everyone else told him to stay, he said that he this was his way of taking responsibility. Like the upper class, they graduated, Midio and all of them graduated, and now Deku's class is one class senior. Normal things are happening. And yeah, and then we had the whole section with Todoroki's like family, them going and trying to talk to Dabi. Endeavor has decided to spend the rest of his life, up until where Dabi is alive, to like be a more father like figure to him, the what he was not able to do or what he didn't do up until now. This is his way of making amends, and like all those things. So yeah, like things are looking positive. Let's see what happens today. Let us begin. I'll be putting the subtitles and the timer here. Sync it to whichever is the preference. Let's begin. Okay, here's the countdown. Three, two, one, go. Oh. Bruh. Right. Oh. Right. Hmm. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Special feature. Who was the? What the hell is this? Hmm. What? A thug? What is? What is this music? The making up, the girl who loves smile. I see. Hmm. Yeah, he said that. Yeah, that's his last words. Well, hmm. Hmm. Damn. Inspired by him. Yeah, you guys should be the people to prevent. Okay, I'll talk about this later. Where were these guys when all of this was happening? They're yapping so much now in front of the cameras. Hmm. Oh, good lord. Oh, you know what? That's a. That's good. You know, like it's a. Oh, that guy. I always forget his name. Tentacle. Sure. Oh, oh, yeah. 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 Damn. Well, it won't. Yeah. That's the thing. As long as people live. Yeah. Yeah, he became one of the. What the hell is going on here? Expel them? Oh, yeah, these are juniors. Damn. Right. What? Yeah, this is a bit too much. Bruh. Yeah. Is he also quirkless? Oh no, he's in the. He, hmm. 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 Wow. Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice. Right. Well, but he's not the one to. Yeah. That's him now. Wow. It'll take time, I guess. Oh, damn. Hmm. Yeah, that is how it should be. Like, because up until now, a lot of people were like, "Oh, All Might is here. Everything is fine. Let's just leave it to the heroes." So the dependency and everything. What the? Who? Oh, Cementos. Well, they, nah, okay, that's why. We already ate. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, what? Oh. Oh, so Himiko, I guess she's thinking about Himiko because I guess in a way her situation never got. I don't know if that's what's bothering her. Okay, interesting. I see. So basically, they're drawing a parallel between Ochako and Deku because Deku's whole situation with Shigaraki is very similar to Ochako's situation with Himiko. And Deku's also, like, we've seen how Deku has also been bothered even after everything got better because Shigaraki's. Mm. Oh, wait, he can still use his power a little bit, I guess. Mm. 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 Yeah, like I said, like the parallel between those two. Mm. Mm. Oh yeah, it's finally going. So this was like the last vestiges of power that was left in him. That's still there a little bit. Oh, they didn't know. Okay. Okay, so wait. So will the Ember stay with him? What the hell is going on here? Oh, I am a. the the laser. Okay. I wonder what we'll get next episode. There's one more episode left, right? No, there's still something. What the? Who's this? Who the? What? Okay, that's it. That was today's episode. Right. So what was that? I have no idea what's going on at the end. So next episode we'll probably see what that was about. All right. So today's episode, um, minute. Right. Today's episode we had again like we got to see a few of the stuff that are happening now in the world after the end of the villain league and all that stuff. So one of the uh, one of the biggest things of today's episode was obviously Spinner, like like Shigaraki's final words. Deku had to wanted to share it with Spinner because like at the end, um, Shigaraki told Deku to give him the message. So while all of that is happening, we have all these people again talking about what will happen if this repeats again, and this and that and all that stuff. And and I'm like, It is because of people like you that this has happened. Like, obviously, the main culprit is One for All, but One for All never would have been able to pull this off if if not for people like you who made all these children, like pushed them to a corner and isolated them so damn hard that they had to get, like, to get a hand they had to take One for All's hand, the last person they would have gotten, like, should have gotten help from, but they had no option. Every single one from the League of Villains had a past like that. Shigaraki, when his whole family, like that whole section, Shigaraki going out into the street trying to ask for help, nobody asking for help, everyone just, nobody giving him help, everyone just looking away, going on their own way. Shigaraki then finally, like All for One coming from out of the shadows and then offering him his hand. Even though all of that was planned by One for All, at the end we get to know that. Oh, sorry, why am I saying All for One? All for One, when, as we get to know at the end, like everything was orchestrated by him. Still, one of the biggest reasons why this escalated this far is because of people like this. Then same with Himiko, same with Spinner, same with who else? Dabi. Like people pushing them away as they were children, people pushing them away from them, isolating them was the main reason why all of this happened. And these people have the gall to again sit down in a, like, like a place like this and start talking about how we should deal with these, like, again, instead of saying what we should do as, like, as what we should do to improve this situation. They're again trying to put all of this blame on, like, this League of Villains and how, like, we should deal with them and everything. Like, the problem is you guys. Like, I'm not talking about the citizens. No, I'm not talking about them. Those guys at the end, you see those guys who were sitting in that fancy ass office and, like, giving, like, some sort of a moral speech. Where is that part? This part. Who are these guys? Okay. All right, here it is. Here we go. Getting to the bottom of things is important, but if we talk about him in sentimental term, someone will be inspired by him and the cycle will repeat. Yeah, but are you freaking stupid? Who the hell is going to get inspired by this if not for people who are already being pushed at the corner? He's talking about how someone will be inspired by this. Who is this someone? Why would this someone be inspired by them unless and until they themselves are being subjected to the same thing? That's what I'm trying to say here. Someone who's at the corner, who has no other ways to go, they are the ones who are going to get inspired by this. So what we can do is not let them get to that place in the first place. Not let that whole situation escalate that far. That is what we should do. And this freaking guy, he's like, who someone will be inspired. Who is this someone? Try to think about it. Why is this someone going to get inspired by this? Because they have no other choice. Nobody gets inspired by something like this unless and until they're mentally, like completely like deranged or something. A normal person would never get inspired by this unless they are at the end of their rope. So what we can do is not let this happen by trying to prevent people from going to the end of their rope. That's what we can do. Obviously, it's completely lost upon these people. What's very interesting about this episode is that line where, Deku was saying, like, how will all of this end? And Tsukauchi was like, it won't. I also was like, yeah, it won't. This is going to continue. And we literally see why it won't end, because of people like this. As we see, immediately after, like, all of these, like, this whole world went through this crisis, after that ended, immediately after that, we have these, like I don't know, like these, paragons of justice coming up and sharing their opinion with everyone, with these type of, these type of, conclusion what they've come up with. This is what's happening, and this is why people will keep making the same mistakes, and villains will keep coming back and coming back up because of this. Like, the main problem of the whole situation escalating this far, of the League of Villains being born, is people isolating people, and these people have not learned about that at all. After that, they're still going to make the same mistake, and they're still going to become another Shigaraki in the future. This will never end, and that is why Tsukauchi said that it's never going to end, because there will be people like this who will again judge other people, again isolate people, and that it's going to continue. And then there's this another dude here. Who's this guy? Let's see. We have to speak plainly and firmly about the guy. He was an evil bastard. Yeah, you speak for yourself. What? You look like an evil bastard. Nah, man. This is, you know what? This, whatever we say, one thing I have to say that they're painting very realistically is the people. People are like this. They will never learn. And this is going to continue again. So what you can get from today's episode is basically that, yeah, this is not over yet. We might have saved ourselves from a crisis here, but people will never learn. This is going to continue, and villains will keep being born, and people will keep having to suffer, so yeah, that's the moral of this. All we can do is, I guess, try to prevent the situation, because there will obviously be another Shigaraki, or in the future, who goes to the same situation and has some same sort of someone like All For One, who comes up and tries and manipulates them. Maybe not in the same degree as All For One, but there will be repeat of situations like this over and over again, and it's never going to stop. It's never going to stop, because people will never learn. All so many fraction of the population are just concerned with what they think is right. And as we saw here in today's episode, a few of these guys were speaking some absolute nonsense. Right. Now, that was a big thing of today's episode. Like I said, that kind of highlighted how this will never end. How this will continue. People will keep judging other people, keep making decisions like this, keep isolating other people, and villains will keep being born. And that's the unfortunate truth of this world. Right. But anyways, Spinner, I guess you can say, kind of got his closure here. Finally, he had a proper conversation. He said that I'll not let you guys forget about this. I'll make a book, and Deku was like, "Oh, make a comic book," because and Spinner was like, "Yeah, I'll make a book and keep reminding you guys of Shigaraki, because you guys will forget. Nobody will remember Shigaraki. Everyone will just forget about this whole thing, and nobody would have learned anything from this. And it will be my my thing to keep you guys remembering the past, and and I think it's okay. He's doing something. He has a goal now, which is good. A goal which is not something that will harm other people or himself, which is productive, I guess you could say. Yeah, there will be people who will not see through this kindly. There will be a lot of people who would be obviously skeptical from the get-go, because Spinner is making it one of the villains. And then there will be people who will be like, oh, what the hell is this? He's just he was from the League of Villains and now he's writing propaganda like this, or something like that. There will be people like that. But there will definitely be people who will be able to understand the true reason for a book like this, and understand something more deeper. So yeah, and at the end of the day, it will keep making people remember about this day. Like he said, people might forget, and that should never, we should never let that happen, because if people forget, people are going to make the same mistakes, and there'll be a repeat of this. Right. Yeah, that was the whole thing with Spinner. Now, there was a second part in this episode, which was Uraraka and Deku. So Deku and Uraraka situation, it took me a while to understand what they were actually doing, and I actually understood it a little bit late. But when I realized that they were trying to draw a parallel between Deku and Uraraka, showing how both of them had a very similar situation that happened to them, and Deku was the one who was able to understand Uraraka the best because he was also going through the same thing. So what this is basically Deku and Shigaraki and Uraraka and Himiko. There was like a parallel between those two situations, which was extremely similar. Like both like Deku and Uraraka wanted to save the other. Uraraka wanted to save Himiko. Deku wanted to save Shigaraki. Both were unable to do it like that. But at the end of the day, both were able to save them, or at least save their heart. Deku was able to save Shigaraki's heart. Uraraka was able to save Himiko's heart. But unfortunately, both of them died, and both of them have this like thing within them where they are thinking that maybe if I should have done something else, maybe made some different decisions, maybe understood this situation better, maybe did something else, maybe some changes if I would have done, maybe they would have been alive. And Deku is also thinking the same. So that is why you can see in a lot of these scenes, you can see Deku looking at Uraraka, and when Uraraka was trying to kind of hide her pain and everything, Deku realizing like what she's trying to do, because he himself is doing that. Like he realized what Uraraka is like going through, because he was going through the same thing at the same time. So he could kind of relate, and he remembered his conversation with Uraraka before all of this happened, when she wanted to save him, when she talked to Deku about it. So that is why Deku realized what's going on. So he came to talk to Uraraka at the end, and they had the conversation. And one thing that Deku says is a question that has been asked a lot in this show, like when people are in trouble, heroes save the day. But when heroes are hurt and sad, who saves them? I guess there is an answer to that in today's episode. As we see, they don't really answer it directly, but it is heavily implied what that answer to that question is. It is basically like when heroes are in trouble or when heroes are hurt, all they can do is support each other. And that's what we saw at the end. Like Deku coming and trying to support Uraraka, all the other friends, all of their friends, hero friends, coming and trying to support them. We have seen this multiple times in this show before as well. Whenever someone was suffering with something or some situation, everyone else, all the other heroes supported them. Ida, if you remember, at the very first section of this show, Ida's had a very big problem with Ingenium and all that. Deku, Todoroki helped him. Todoroki's situation, Deku saved Todoroki in that way. Who else was there who had a lot of trouble? And it wasn't really as much as the others, but if you remember, there was a section with Suyu as well, where Suyu was bothered by a certain situation. I don't remember exactly the situation. It was I think it was like Suyu was sad about the fact that she was not able to help, and I don't exactly remember the part, but I do remember that scene very well, where Suyu was all alone and everyone came to kind of cheer her up, and Suyu was crying. That section. Who else had these type of situations? Every single moment you can see where any of them were kind of the others kind of supported, and you could say that is the only answer to this question, because when normal citizens are in trouble, heroes save them. But who is there to save a hero? It's them themselves. That's because that's all we have, all they have. What else can they do? They cannot do anything. They cannot go and ask a citizen for help. And sometimes they do help. Sometimes there are also people who are ordinary people who can help the heroes like this. But most of the time it is going to be your fellow heroes. They will help you out. And I guess that is one answer to this question, you could say. And that's what we saw in today's episode as well, where everyone came running. At first it was Deku, and then everyone came running. You know, yeah. And you can see here, like, like you can see, like, Uraraka, what's bothering Uraraka is basically that Uraraka is thinking that there was a possibility for Himiko to be saved if she didn't get stabbed like that. If she didn't lose her blood. Like, yeah, obviously Himiko would have been arrested. She probably would have been, like, detained and something. But like, she would be alive. She would have a chance to redeem herself. Maybe not redeem herself, but at least make amends for what she did up until now. So all the crimes that she has done. If you remember, there was one section in one of the previous episodes where Himiko and Uraraka were fighting at the very end, where Himiko was like, even if I surrender, I'm going to I'm going to be taken away. Like, what do I get out of this? Like, how am I going to survive like that? At which I remember Uraraka said that if that happens, then I will go every single day to, like, visit you unless and until you are free. I think she said something like that, along those lines. And I'm pretty sure she would have done that. She definitely would have done that. She would have waited for Himiko to complete her sentence, and like, Himiko would have come out, and then like, they would have been good friends, and that would have been like, the thing. And Uraraka's, like, probably just thinking, like, if not for me, that probably would have happened. Himiko probably would have survived, and she would have, like, done her sentence, come to the world, like, the outside world, and Uraraka could then help her become a normal part of society, help her out. But that couldn't be done because she couldn't save her. And yeah, and that was her regret. Her regret being that there was a big possibility of her surviving, but she couldn't do anything in that situation. She couldn't do anything to keep her alive. Yeah, and you can say, like, Deku doesn't really say much, but I'm pretty sure Deku is also thinking about the same thing with Shigaraki, where he also must have thought that if somehow I was able to save Shigaraki, then but I feel like Deku's situation was a little bit different. Like, Uraraka's taking this so heavily because, like, it was like a singular moment that defined everything and changed everything. That singular moment being Uraraka's blood loss. So Uraraka's thinking, if I somehow prevented that, everything would have been different. Himiko would have been alive. Unlike Deku, whose situation is a bit different because there wasn't really a singular moment like that where if Deku changed something, like, Shigaraki would have been alive. The whole All For One, like, just popping out and, like, completely destroying Shigaraki, all of that stuff happened, but there was no singular moment like that where if Deku somehow changed the outcome, everything would have been okay. So, Deku is more of a gradual thing, like a gradual saving thing. Like, oh, if I saved him earlier, if I was able to do something for him earlier, and then, so it's a lot more, I don't know, subtle, I think, for Deku. However, Uraraka's is way more brutal because, like I said, it's a singular moment. And when it's a singular moment that you could have changed by changing that moment, and you could have changed the outcome, it hits way more hard because you always focus on that, and you are always like, oh, that one moment, if something else happened there, then everything would have been different. So I feel like Uraraka's, like, situation with Himiko, it is hitting her way more harder than any other thing. Like, even Deku's situation is a lot more kind of subtle compared to Uraraka's blame that she's putting on herself. Right. Yeah. And oh, another thing, I was not aware that Deku still, yeah, I guess he did mention that he has the embers left of All For One. Sorry, One For All. God damn it, he has the embers left, a little bit of it. So that's how he was able to come here. So I don't know. I thought that he lost his quirk completely. Like, I thought, like, the ember only stayed up until like that battle, and when the battle ended, it's going to go, but it's still there within him. So I do wonder if this ember is going to stay with him from here onwards up until the very end. I think I mentioned this in the previous episode. I was saying like, how is this going to end? I think I said there is two outcomes. One outcome is Deku lost, all obviously all the quirk after losing all his quirks, he would try to like be some like like I don't know, like see, he would try to um be something or someone who supports heroes, you know like he will still be a hero, but he will be someone who supports heroes. That's one thing I thought. And then the other thing that I thought was that if he loses, since he's lost his quirk, he might use some gadgets made by May and continue being a hero. These were the two directions I was thinking he was going to go. But if he has his embers left, and if his embers still stay with him, I feel like he can continue being a hero. Like, like do normal hero stuff. Like maybe not as crazy as he used to do before, but like light stuff here and there. As we saw today, you can see he was like helping out with the construction and everything. Like I was a bit surprised. I was like, damn, how can he? Because at that moment I thought he lost his quirk. I was like, damn, he can keep up with them. How? I was thinking maybe it's like his normal physical prowess, because he's pretty damn strong now because he did a lot of training, physical training. So I was thinking it's just his physical strength has grown so much. But no, it was because of the embers. I realized that later. So like if he has his embers with him, and if the embers keep staying with him from here onwards, then I think he'll be okay. Like he will be able to participate with everyone, like with normal hero work. Maybe not as extensively as what Bakugo and Todoroki can do, but maybe something in a more like like a lighter way, like maybe like Mineta or something. Like like the degree with which Mineta can probably fight, maybe something like that. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, there's one more episode left. In the end, we get to see there's someone who is again kind of in a similar situation to Shigaraki. I guess he was like blaming something. I don't know who the hell this is. Like probably a new character, and they were showing how he was like suffering from something. I guess we will get to see more about that in the next episode. Either way, today's episode, like I said, it was very clear what they were trying to say. They were trying to show how this whole thing that happened is never going to end, obviously. More people will like isolate other people. More people will fall the same victim as the League of Villains, how they suffered. And there will be a lot more new League of Villains and Shigaraki emerging. So that will continue. So that is like the moral of this. All we can do is like try to prevent it, and yeah. And then also like the section with Deku and Uraraka about how both of them are suffering, and how especially Uraraka is suffering because of her blaming herself of not being able to do anything to save Himiko, because it was more of a singular point that could have changed the complete outcome. And she's thinking like, if I change that singular outcome, like point of time, something, if I was not stabbed, or if I didn't bleed out, everything would have been different. Hence her blaming herself. Deku realizing that, because he's also in a very similar situation. So him realizing that first, and coming and helping out Uraraka. And then we had like a few other stuff, like like Aoyama's farewell party, and yeah, that's what happened. A few things I forgot to mention here. Not forgot, but I didn't mention about. First and foremost, I talked about Spinner. We get to see what happened with Lady Nagant. So basically, Lady Nagant is going to stay in prison for now, unless and until because she's still afraid, as she says. But but she is obviously going to come out sooner or later, and probably become a better, like not do villain things again. We get to see what was his name? Overhaul, yeah, Overhaul, and like that like their boss, that whole situation. His boss says that you messed up, you screwed up, and you're probably going to stay like this. I'll keep coming here and keep reminding you of the wrong that you have done, and you'll keep lamenting up until the day you die, and I'll keep coming here, I guess you could say it was his way of taking responsibility as well as the leader, as the boss, you know, by coming here. And his situation is very much like, I guess you could say, Endeavor's situation, where Endeavor is like trying to make amends from his way of like making amends by coming here and talking to Dabi. Here it's a little bit reverse, where it's his way of taking responsibility of for overhaul, doing stuff like this. It was his way of kind of taking responsibility for something that he himself has not done. He's also a victim, but at the same time, overhaul was under him, so it is his way of taking responsibility for him and coming here. And so yeah, that was also something we see, like the new students here who have joined, and they're very excited about like Deku's class, and then they apologized in the end because they were being a little bit too much. Right. Yeah, and there you go. And at the end, we see, like I said, in the little farewell session, we see everyone partying, and like we have Eddie with her little mic. I think she said she wants to be a singer or something. So yeah. And there you go. That is it. That was today's episode number 10 of My Hero Academia, the final season. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to press the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, or you haven't subscribed. Comment down below anything you want to say, anything you want to let me know. I'll check them out. That is it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next week with, I think, the final episode of My Hero Academia. Until then, goodbye and have a nice day.